time. Here are 5 ways to make your persuasive oral better. I'm Shalane from TSE Tuition. Here are our social media channels. Make sure you're subscribed. Join our newsletter if you are a parent or a tutor, and check out our shop for vocabulary packs. So let's get to it. The first tip is that your contention needs a problem and a solution. If your speech is just about a problem, you end up ranting about it. You're not really proposing a new position, you're not proposing a solution, you're not moving your audience towards a point, right? You are just complaining about the issue, and that is not what a persuasive speech should be about. So make sure when you're writing your contention, even if it doesn't make it into your speech, make sure you've got a problem and a solution. Tip number 2 is that you should use slang or jargon to engage your chosen audience. Depending on your audience, so you may be speaking as an 18-year-old in front of your year 12 assembly, right? You want to use slang to engage that audience to make sure that you're really capturing their attention. Conversely, if you're pretending that you are a medical doctor speaking at a medical conference, you want to be using jargon, right, to engage that particular audience, to make it clear that you as the speaker are, in the same group as your audience, and therefore making yourself more relatable, more trustworthy, and therefore more persuasive. Tip number 3 is that you should be reiterating your information in various ways throughout your speech. So if you're using something like stats and figures, right, 33% of the population believe in whatever, right? So if that's the kind of technique that you're using, when you're listening as an audience to something like that, it's very easy to just forget, right? Think of all the times you've sat down in like an assembly speech and you hear something and immediately you forget it because it's a boring piece of information. So you want to reiterate that information for your audience to really hammer it home. So you want to say something like 33% of the population believes in blah, 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 blah. That means in our assembly today of 300 kids, 30 of you, I can't do maths, it's not 30. What's 33% of 300 people? Well, 33 times 99, right? 99 of you, right, will believe that whatever it is that you're arguing. So you want to reiterate it so that it's easier for your audience to relate to it, to understand it, to absorb it, to hold it in their heads and go, oh, I see, right? You want to reiterate that in multiple ways for your audience. Tip number 4 is that when you're writing your speech, use words that you can pronounce and words that you can say. Some words are tricky, like statistics is a tricky word for a lot of people. It's the C and the S and the T. It's very hard for a lot of people to say statistics, right, multiple times. So if you're someone who struggles with that word, find other ways to say it. Don't make your speech hard for yourself, right? Use words that you can easily say under pressure. And lastly, you want to paraphrase your quotes rather than relying on quote marks to quote your evidence. In an essay, we get used to sort of relying on quote marks, and that is actually the hallmark of great quoting, is if you can take the quote marks out of your sentence and it still works as a sentence, and you've done a great job, right, at blending that quote into your writing. But in a speech, your audience are listening to you. They're not reading, right, your speech. They're hearing you say it. So if you don't make it clear that according to Professor Smith, is true, right? If you don't make that clear to your audience and you just say is true, your audience doesn't understand that these are someone else's words, right? That you're quoting someone else. So make sure that you're very clear on where these quotes come from, and that you make it very clear to your audience as well that this is a quote. So you can use various things like gestures, right? You can do air quotes because it's a speech, you're allowed to do that. You can give yourself a pause. According to Professor Smith, 30% of da 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 is true. Isn't that crazy? So you're paraphrasing it, so you're beginning that phrase with according to whoever says this, and then you have your quote, and then you reiterate that. Isn't it crazy that out of a room like this, 99 of us would believe this? So you are, one, paraphrasing, making it very clear that you are using evidence and information that's beyond, your own Googling skills. And two, you are then reiterating it to your audience in various ways so that your audience can really absorb that information. So these are my 5 tips to make your persuasive speech better. I hope you found that helpful. Make sure you subscribe to the channel and all of our social medias, all the other things. And I'll see you in the next video.